Welcome to the Too Posh Podcast.
I am Gabrielle. I am a former New York Mafia princess, originally from Austria. I am the mother of 3 and the owner of Too Posh Boutique. And here with my beautiful co-host, Marcella, my daughter.
Hello, I'm Marcella. I'm a dancer, choreographer, model, and designer for Too Posh. And I say whatever the I want.
Hi, my name is Cruz. I am a stylist. I also own the Society Salon in the Design District, and I am a short little Mexican with a big personality.
What will they say next? Welcome to the Too Posh Podcast.
Well, thank you so much for joining us for another episode. And Jackie Prieto
Thank you for having me.
back with us. And this is a treat, everyone. Jackie came on our show and we had an amazing time, and we talked about all the amazing things she does. And she's a mom of 2 incredible boys, and she survived an unbelievable car accident and is so positive, and everything is just unbelievable. And then as we got to the end of our show, she shared really one of the most shocking, incredible stories we have ever heard on this podcast before. And her honesty was refreshing, because we always say one day, if you share your story, one day you will be somebody else's inspiration to get over something that they have gone through. And you did that better than anything I've ever heard. And the trauma you went through and everything. And we wanted to just dive more into that whole story, more into detail. But please go and listen to part 1 of Jackie Prieto's story, where she talks about her marriage to a pastor's son and everything that happened.
Crazy.
Yeah, we were falling off our chair.
Including really deceit, deception, cheating on the highest level of
The highest
anything that anyone can imagine. So I was working on that show, and when I was listening to it, I was really, really, really so touched by your strength and the way that you have stayed humble and kind and still hopeful for an amazing life with everything that you went through, because that is a lot to overcome, that you had to overcome. So I think we basically ended the show where you had found out that he had cheated with a minor.
Yes.
Who he is now married to, and has a child that is the same age as your youngest.
Yes.
Because you and her were pregnant at the same time.
Yes. And she would.
Sheesh.
That's where we ended.
So
in the same church, mind you.
Yes, in the same church, and so much more that goes with it. But I wanted you to please continue on where you are now, what happened since. I know there's a lot more to it.
Well, first, thank you for having me. And I think that the short Mexican thing is a real thing. We have a lot of energy.
Big personality.
Yeah, it's a real thing. But also, thank you both so much, Marcella, and you beautiful, like, goddess.
Thank you.
Like a queen, I think.
I know.
For having me. And you really touched my heart, for real. That was very, very sweet, everything that you just said. But back to the juicy gossip.
Yes.
So, so she wasn't actually a minor when she got pregnant, but their affair did begin whenever,
She was 14?
I think she's 14. Yeah. Because he was like, she's mad at me for going to the Christmas banquet with you. And I was like, she's 5. Like, why does this matter? I'm sorry, but like, why do I care?
And just so that if someone just hears it, how long were you married at this point?
When I found out, I had been married about 6 years. So we had already had our first kid. And I also found out about the affair whenever I was pregnant with the second kid. And I just found out that I was pregnant. So literally, and I had to speak at our church, which was 1,200 people that weekend on Mother's Day weekend, guys.
Wow.
Like, just so you can imagine. And I couldn't eat. Like, I literally couldn't eat. I was so, like, weak and pregnant and, like, dying inside. And I'm, like, getting up there, giving this whole beautiful speech about Mother's Day, bringing up people for their awards, thanking my mother-in-law for giving me a precious son. And I'm inside, I'm, like, screaming and, like, wanting to die. crazy. I'm like, he's a liar. He's sleeping with everyone here. Like,
You just wanted to yell that
Emotional
out.
damage.
I know. I just wish I could have. But also, I was like, I guess, number one, my faith. I was like, okay, what if God turns this around? Like, I don't want to like mutilate it, but also this is not the place for it. Even
Right.
though in my beautiful, beautiful spirit, I would love to have done that. But the girl, she's pregnant. We're pregnant together. And so I'm like, look, just leave him alone. Like, look, it's
You
already...
talked to her?
Yes. So I went across to her, my first service back after having Foster Reed.
How old is she?
Yeah,
at this
how old
time?
was she? Yeah.
She's probably 19, 20 at that
20.
time.
So
Wow.
you are pregnant with your second child and you find out that he's having the affair, or is she pregnant?
I just found out about the affair.
Oh, okay.
So we'll go back. We can go back to that. But I just found out about the affair. And then when I found out about the affair, I started digging, which I know you can relate, but I wouldn't say one thing, and I would be checking
That's right.
his phone and emails and
That's
cooking
right.
him breakfast every morning. And so it was like I was gathering all this information, seeing that he was hiring people from Craigslist for them to come like have fun with him and her. So she really probably is one of those Stockholm syndrome people,
Mhm.
like fell in love with her captor type thing.
Yeah, he was grooming her the whole time.
The whole time.
Mhm.
So she kind of like, unless her parents like really had seen it and pulled her out, she kind of like was just in it.
Like he
Stuck.
was the youth pastor at the time.
Oh
Right.
no, we were the like assistant pastors, like the pastors of the entire
Oh, his
church.
parents were the youth pastors.
No,
No.
her
Okay, how am I-
parents.
okay.
Her parents.
Her
You're right.
parents. Yes.
Yes.
Her parents were the
Her
youth pastors.
Mhm.
And
So they sent them to Bora Bora whenever they found, or Fiji Islands, somewhere exotic, to like pay them off, gave them a gas card, guys. All the things that they could do to shut
his
them up.
parents, the main pastors of the church, paid off the
Yes,
her
because
parents.
they didn't want for them to say, because they were upset about it. Like they
So
She
naturally,
was 14 at the time when they started.
they didn't even know about that.
Wow.
I don't know if they did at that time. I'm sure that all came out because I found out about it from multiple sources that were like, hey, yeah, we were trying to tell you and you didn't listen. And that is true. They did try to tell
They
me like
did?
a year after we got married. I just literally, y'all, I was raised on sunshine and bubbles. So like, I'm like, oh, the world is beautiful. So I was like, they're just haters. They don't know what they're talking about.
Also, people were trying to tell you. What were they saying?
That he had sex with this girl at youth camp. And I was like, what? He would never. I was there.
How old was your husband
He was
when
so
she was 14? How
when
old was she?
she was 14. He was 24.
Yeah, that's what
Yeah.
you had said.
Wow.
Okay, so then I feel like we have to go back a little because her parents found out when too. Like, did everyone find out at the same time?
So supposedly, people knew. Like,
oh,
people knew. And they were like, we just thought because you're so sweet and forgiving, like, and you're such a good person. I was like, being a good person doesn't mean that I should allow this in my life. Like, what?
So these are other people in the church?
In the church. And they were like, Jackie, we just thought you knew. Like, everybody knows. I'm like, how does everyone know except me? Because I lived in a bubble.
I mean, you
Denial.
would think
Yeah.
that the people in
Surely.
the church would be in an uproar if the main pastor's son behaves like this.
So he has like a long history of bad habits, bad things in his life. So his parents actually, when they met me, they wanted him to get married to me because I was that good girl that was going to come in and change his life. Like, here
You're
I
gonna
am
Save him.
going to save him, but clearly that didn't work.
My gosh.
so then when did you talk to her? Because you said you guys.
Oh,
spoke.
so found out she was pregnant, or found out about the affair in like April, May. It was obviously May because it was Mother's Day weekend. So end of April, beginning of May. Just about him having sex with one person. Okay. That's
Okay.
just one. Or actually, the thing that shocked me was just like drinking. I was like, what? You drank? Like, because we just like, I lived in a bubble. Like, for real. I just thought he
you
was.
were marrying the pastor's son. So
And he
there's-
told me he was always going to do Bible studies. Like, bless it. Hallelujah. I do want other people to receive Jesus in their hearts. So I'm 100% your cheerleader. You
And
know?
he was going where instead of Bible study?
Well, perusing the streets, definitely sleeping with other people, not just her. She was definitely never the only one. I've had so many people message me like throughout the years. This is not just like one time, but throughout the years and be like, yeah, girl, I have seen him so many times on Tinder, on what's the
Bumble.
Grinder.
Grindr?
Oh, I haven't told y'all that part.
Well, that
Oh.
you did, yeah. That I just am shocked he was on Grinder.
Yeah, one of my close like family, he's gay and he's like a close family friend, grown up with him, and he was like, Jackie, you're not going to believe who I just saw. I was like, not shocked.
Wow, so this dude's freaky deaky.
He's like, can't get enough. Whatever it is, come at me.
Everhole.
My
So-
God.
So then you find out about the affair. You're pregnant. Then what happens?
So I do the searching, you
Yeah.
know, and I'm like waiting it out. And then we're at Foster Reed being born, which is January of 2012. And
That's your son.
yes,
The youngest
the
one.
youngest
Okay.
one. And so he was born. I like go to church 2 weeks later. Okay. She is there. I am there with a new child. Imagine the hormones, you know? And I'm just like, hey, it was like a really nice service. I was like, I feel like maybe the presence of God has helped her soften her heart. Here I am, all hopeful, faithful, you know? Like God's really going to just let it happen. And that's not like knocking God. Obviously, we're human. We have our own will. But so I went to her and I was like, hey, you know, look at that. His sons really need him. Like they really need him because Barrett, my oldest, was like in his lap. And I was like, just let it go. Like, see what happens. Like, just see. Girl, I kid you not. This bitch rubs her belly in the church, in the altar, at the church, and goes, things are different now. I'm sorry, but what? Yes, they are. But wow, the audacity.
Was she showing?
No,
Oh.
no, she was like 2 months or 3 months or something.
And she's like
Maybe
19 still.
Yeah, 1920, something like that.
Oh
I really don't remember, but
My
yes,
gosh.
maybe 19.
Wow.
So anyway, that being said, then I get a call from his dad, the pastor, and said, don't be starting drama in my church. I was like,
You.
What?
Me?
You starting drama?
I'm sorry, can we look at your own son for
Course
once?
And what did he say when you said that?
No, I just said, I didn't start anything. I said, she literally, you know, I just asked her to leave him alone. That's my husband. Like,
But
I feel like I have every right to do that. He was like, what's causing drama? I'm sorry, but whatever. I was like, okay,
But I have
clearly have no support here. And y'all are, they've always like covered for
of
him.
course.
Covered.
But what
Well,
was
that's why he's
he
like that.
saying
Exactly.
to you? Like, did you confront him? When did you confront him?
Obviously I confronted him the first time. Well, actually I found out she was pregnant whenever she emailed him one day and she was like, I think I'm pregnant and I've missed my period. And he was like, are you sure it's just a few days? Like, let's wait a few days. So I actually found out through their own personal email.
And then when you went up to her, she rubbed her belly and it confirmed it. Correct?
Well, I knew, like, I found out, so that was like maybe November of 2011. And then they came and told the family like in December.
But did you freak out?
Yeah.
Did he
What was I
say
going to do
anything?
though? You know, like,
Well, I don't know. I would fucking beat somebody up. Like I'm psychotic. So I don't
I
know.
wanted
break every
to.
door.
but I also knew the people I was dealing with, and they are the most manipulative people I have ever met in my
I
life.
believe that.
And these
Oh,
are
it
the
has to
church
be.
leaders.
Yes. And so they would have, if I would have done one thing, they would have done everything in their power to make it turn it around
Oh.
on me and put me like in jail, like which
Gaslight.
they're trying to do right now. By
But
the way.
wait.
I
Really?
knew that was coming.
But did he ever say sorry? Did he ever say, I didn't do that? Did he say,
No, girl.
He probably doesn't think he's in the wrong.
No, he was like, he apologized a lot. He apologized like throughout and then was like, I'm sorry. But then he would be like, this isn't working. He was like, I've never loved you. I've always loved her.
What? He
Yeah.
said that to you?
Yes, girl. And I was like, this was like the end of my pregnancy or sometime when my hormones, I was like, get out. Get out. Like, what? Why'd you marry me then? He was like, well, I thought it was the best thing because your parents said,
Yeah.
you know,
Does he have siblings?
he has one sister and her name is Lorna. And we've never had like any beef or anything. You know?
I mean, she has to be horrified about her brother, no? His
I
behavior.
have no idea.
mean,
I
my
think
God.
that they all stick together.
yeah,
but
of course.
So
You
did
know.
he want this pregnancy after she was pregnant? Did he want her to keep it, or did he
Oh, yeah.
ask her like, "Hey,
no.
let's get it aborted"?
He wanted her to
or-
keep
so
it.
He wanted
So
to keep it.
he wanted to keep it, and their plan was for us to get a divorce and for them to go run away to some, like they had booked this trip and they were going to like go on their own little like Love Island type thing.
Just get away and leave.
Yeah, but it didn't happen. I think his dad like ended up talking to him, being like, look, this isn't going to look good. Just like flow with it, whatever. But yeah, multiple people in the church, including like I started calling people and I was like, hey, I am not mad at you. I just want to preference this by saying this. Like, I just need to know the truth because everything he's saying is a lie. So can you just answer me? Please know that I really don't care. And she was like, no. One person called me back and she was like, no. No. And then she called me back crying and was like, you're such a good person. I can't lie to you. And we were like, yes, it did. But it wasn't like, I literally was trying to even go to his dad and ask him to like, tell him, leave me alone, like get your son. And the dad blamed it on her and said, well, you must be doing something wrong. I'm sorry.
Sounds so typical for that type of behavior, like
Yeah.
that type of person.
Yeah.
You know.
There's even a story, or one of the boys that was telling me about the affair at the camp. That one time they said that girl, he ended up committing suicide because the dad kicked him out of our church and told him never to come back. And now, after I found everything out, it was like it all made sense. Like, this poor child already had like a really bad life, you know, and was like doing everything that he could just to come and like get more from life, you know, find peace.
How old is this person?
This little guy was like 17 when he committed suicide.
And he got kicked out of the church for telling you.
Mm-hmm.
Wow. And these poor innocent people are coming to a church to try to find something.
No kidding.
To fill that void,
Mhm.
and then they're being taken advantage
I
of.
know. And the sad thing, like, I believe that God like still moves on those people just because the people, he cares about the people. It's not about like that person. He doesn't really approve of their lifestyle or the way they are, their characteristics. But those people, like, they're a sheep, right? He wants to make sure they're fed in a sense. I mean, that's the only thing I can think of, you know? But, yeah. So also, let's see what else.
Really quick, just so I want to make sure that I understand this right. You and her were pregnant at the same time, right?
For like 4 months.
For 4 months.
Mhm.
So when you had that newborn and then she was rubbing her belly.
Yeah, she just was really tiny, so she wasn't showing very much.
Okay.
She was like poochy, you know,
Right,
just like,
right.
But that's still having a baby basically at the same time.
yeah.
Yeah.
Now, when did you get divorced? Like, how did that work?
So January, he's, Foster Reed is born. It was 2 weeks after he was born. So after that incident, I was like, I have no support here. Like, nothing's going to change. No matter how much faith I have,
So
all the
finally
things.
you're fed up. Like finally you're like, all right, I'm done.
It took hormones. It took childbirth.
After this is like what, 7 years now?
Yeah,
that
we're
you've
at
been with
7
him?
years.
And 2 kids.
7.5 years.
Plus he's gotten someone pregnant, plus multiple affairs.
Plus other men.
Plus other
Other
men.
I literally immediately went and got checked. And the guy was like, he had been obviously my doctor the whole time. He was like, it's a miracle.
I mean, my goodness.
God was watching out for you.
For real.
Yeah.
Seriously.
Wow.
So then are you completely I mean, you have a new baby. So are you like, do you feel lost? Like what are emotions?
The pain I could not describe.
Yeah.
Like that's something that,
Depression.
first of all, emotional pain is so different. It's kind of untouchable.
Mm-hmm.
And that pain was so sharp and deep and overwhelming that you couldn't even be depressed. You really couldn't even be depressed. It was just so painful that you were almost like completely shattered. There's no other way to describe it. There was so much pain that you can't even have like a moment of depression because there's no like high you can even see,
I think for you especially, because from when you said you were so innocent and you see the world in a way, and I think when people don't see any evil ever, and then the person you marry
and you
like,
look up to for a spiritual leader.
Yeah, it has to be extremely overwhelming emotionally.
It was so bad to the point where I would like go to Target, for instance, and I would be there in the parking lot and all of a sudden freak out and be like, where am I? How did I get here? Like,
just like blackout kind of.
yeah, just like gone. And those are like trauma responses.
Uh-huh.
Like,
Yes.
but I couldn't handle it.
Yeah.
And I feel like obviously God helped me through it, but I'm just saying in that moment, like, it's like,
Of course. And
you're
so
dying.
did you ask him for the divorce?
So after that instance at the church, and 2 weeks after that, I got into because he was being awful. Like, I cannot tell you, just like a horrible, evil human, like saying hateful things, just like, get away from me. I've never even wanted you. You make me sick when you touch me, blah, blah, blah. Like, first of all, I wasn't even touching him, but just like, he was like the side of you. And then he was
also,
like,
those should have been the things you were saying.
clearly, right?
Yes.
The problem is when I love really hard. Okay, Marcella?
I get that. Oh, I'm sure you're preaching to the choir. I don't know. I can't say anything. Yes.
But yeah, so I got in his closet specifically because I was like, Lord, if he will not change and if he will never be the man that we need him to be or a father to our sons the way he needs to be, then please make him file, because I just couldn't bring myself to do it. Like, for me, it was more than just the marriage. It was my commitment to my family, like to my kids. I had made an oath before God, and like I took that very seriously,
Right.
And so,
And how old is your first kid at this time?
he was almost 3 years old.
So you have 3, and then you have a newborn.
He was 2
when this
years,
is all
8
going
months
on.
when Foster Reed was born.
So you have pretty much 2 babies when
Yeah.
all this is going on.
Yeah, literally, they
Wow.
babies. And I just couldn't handle it anymore. And so 2 weeks after that prayer, so I prayed that, like, I'll never forget. I think it was like the 17th. It was a Saturday or something of February. And 2 weeks later, I went to Dallas and I was staying with my family because I just left after that prayer. I was like, I'm done. Like, what am I going to do here? There's
Right.
no support. His family is literally Satan.
Yeah. Well, they're never going to
Literally.
have your side. Ever.
Never.
Yeah.
And so I was like, I'm here fighting a hopeless war. Like, on what? So I went and left just to go to my parents, and he calls me 2 weeks later and says, hey, I just want to let you know that I filed for divorce. And I said, okay. He goes, you're not going to scream? You're not going to like throw a fit? I was like, well, first of all, when he said that in my head, I'm like, well, why would I do that if that's what you want?
Yeah.
But I really was like, okay, well, I mean, what am I going to do about that if you filed? Like, what do you want me to do about it? you're the only one that can change that. You filed. So here
Yeah.
we are.
Congratulations.
And after that, I like went in my closet, my parents' closet, and just bawled, soaked the floors. Just because, like, at that point, it wasn't about him. It was like, the thing about divorce is those are all of your hopes and dreams. Like, you dream of building a life together. You dream of this. You have these visions. You wouldn't get married. Speaking of married, we're going to a wedding. But you really wouldn't get married if you didn't see a future with this person. Like, this is like your partner. This is your world, essentially.
Mhm.
You know, like,
I've always heard like you're supposed to stay in your marriage and work through anything and everything, but
I was
After
taught that.
so much
But
trauma.
I am saying
and,
I don't
mean,
know
wow.
where you took that strength
Like-
off. I couldn't have handled the first thing.
Yeah,
Mm-mm.
like
No
you
way. You went above and beyond.
above and beyond. Way.
I mean, how
No.
could you even like stand to be in the same room with this person?
I really look back and I don't know, but I do know in that moment that I just loved him, and actually I felt sorry for him because I was like, you're this person because of how your parents raised you.
But you still loved him after he
I-
cheated, and
Girl,
Was
it took
ugly
me
to you?
3 years to quit loving him after this, after the divorce.
Wow.
3 years. And this is like me being 100% honest and transparent. Like, I did not want to admit that when I was in those 3 years. Like, I was like, no, he's shit. He's a piece of trash. Like, ugh. But I knew, Jacqueline Adriana Prieto knew that she still loved him. But I also like had boundaries. Thank God. Like, I had set boundaries for myself. Even though I loved him, I knew that I couldn't like be near him or around him because I knew like my weakness. Because I wanted, to affirm that he really did ever love me. Like, I wasn't just trash and I wasn't just discarded, and I didn't ever just not mean anything to you. Those type of things. Like,
yeah.
human nature, where we need that like affirmation in life.
So what then happened with your children? Like, what did you guys go back and forth? Like, did you have to see? I mean, how did that work? Because
So this is a great part because so he files and then we go into mediation and everything. And of course it takes like 6 months whenever you have kids. But this is where he gets it from. His mother, literally, he was like, hey, pause, pin in that. He was like, the mediator was like, after they get a certain age, that's when they're supposed to be able to go over the weekend, right? Stay overnight. It was like 3 years old. He fought so hard and said, I could not come back to Dallas if I had to stay there and live there in Houston, knowing that I had nobody there. He had already made me pull out a ton of credit cards. So that way, because his parents were paying him for me working at the church this whole time, even after they found out about him having affairs. After all of this, they were still paying him. I still have an email and I said, I never knew you were paying me. Like, I had no idea, because he emailed me and said, hey, we're going to stop paying you this next month. And I was like, I didn't even know you were paying me. He
So
was
they're
like,
paying you out of the church for tax deduction or tax
Mhm,
reasons. It was a business, and they're actually
but
paying
she
you.
worked too. You worked in the church, right?
but at that point I wasn't.
But
I
they
was
were
at
saying they were
home.
paying
Oh.
her, but he was keeping the money. But it was just a business transaction, so they could do it
Give it to him.
Oh.
Give him money.
tax deductible, since there's no taxes on the church.
Right.
Yeah.
Scam.
They do it all the time,
That's a
which they're doing it
scam.
now, even
I
with
mean,
his
it's totally
check now.
legal, but it's a scam.
Yeah.
Wow.
Well, especially for dirty people like that.
Yes.
It's different, like, to me, if it's somebody that's like struggling and they really do need a tax break, or like they're putting all their money back into like making sure the church looks good or whatever, which they do that. But I'm saying like in a different way, in a more
Yeah.
humble way,
Yeah, but
Yeah.
they're wearing,
They're not.
like, super
So, but
high
this
end.
is like a mega church, you guys, and it's
Yeah.
like, is there no
Have we
one?
named the church?
Yeah, we know the. Yeah.
Yeah.
So,
Girl, they even just did this building fund this last Christmas, And they were like, we can't even do the Christmas banquet. You have to understand this Christmas banquet is like famous for them. Like they love it. It's like the best thing in their lives. So they were like, we can't even afford to do that. But yet they took everyone, all like 12 of the family members, like sons and stuff, to Crested Butte.
Skiing.
$2,500 a airline ticket. That's it.
Yeah, just that.
Just
The
that
airline
part.
ticket.
That's not considering stay and skiing.
And these are all tithes and offerings.
But
that they're
they
taking
couldn't
from the
afford to
people.
do
Of course.
a Christmas banquet. And the church is in sacrificial giving mode. Sacrificial
What does that
giving mode.
mean?
Sacrifice. So they like you have
It's
to
more than 10%.
more than 10% on top of your 10, on top of your offering, which is another 5%. And you're supposed to like dig deep, maybe sell
Dig deep.
something. Yeah.
Dig deep. Dig deep.
Dig
Sell
deep,
your-
girl.
Dig
Wow.
deep. Sell your car for us.
So
Sell
I want to
your-
show them. So head pastor's ex-husband and
Oh my God, let me see this.
Yeah.
Let me see.
So let's go, because I do want to talk about the
Wow.
church at some point, but I do want you to finish
I feel sorry for these kids.
your
I know.
thought with
Oh my God.
money wise. How could you did he give you, like, through your divorce, did you get
yeah, I was
like,
gonna
how
ask
are
that
you
too.
supposed to take care of yourself, because you do have his children, and
Girl.
how did the parents not care, like how the
They
kids are
don't
taken
care
care of?
because they really are the fakest caring people I've ever met in my life.
Mhm.
Literally. Like I heard them talk crap about almost
Of course.
every person in the church. And yet in their face they're like, "We love you. You're our favorite.
money.
You've been here the longest, blah blah blah." And these people literally, like, I'm not exaggerating, worship them. Like
Brainwashed.
worship. But they also are very manipulative in the way that they approach things, and they make them feel like, I mean, there's so many, literally hundreds of people that would probably testify to this statement that when they left, they tried to bash their name.
Oh,
They're
when they
those
left
people.
the church.
Yeah.
This is like a Scientology shit.
Yeah.
Man.
They
Right.
run it like that. So like the organization isn't, I would say, is not like that at large. It's them. They're just
Yeah.
like, you know how you have a bad seed?
Yeah.
They're a bad seed
Yeah, but
Yeah.
they're the leaders of the church.
of that church. Yeah. Mm-hmm.
And
So
this
then
is just a complete business to them.
Do you know how many members there are now?
I really don't. I
You
don't
don't know?
keep up with them at all.
Yeah.
So then they want you to stay in Houston.
Yeah, and no money, mind you.
So what are you supposed to do exactly?
So he was just supposed to take care of the bills.
Okay.
But once we filed for divorce, then I just like ended up kind of going back home. Actually, you know, Albernays restaurant.
Yes.
So Jeannie, we grew up with them. Caitlin and I were like best friends growing up. So Jeannie took me and the boys to Colorado, like to get away. And then this just happens to be when she's going to have the baby. So
So you're
we are in
Ex-husbands.
Colorado, and Jeannie comes down the mountain with me with the boys, so I can call, or the boys can call their dad, because they wanted to FaceTime him. You know, they don't know anything. They're little
Yeah,
Of
babies.
course.
Yeah.
Yeah.
They have no clue. So, and I never put an ill word in them until he made me,
mhm.
you know, and it's not ill. I just laid out the facts. But, so call, and girl, I kid you not, that was so painful. I saw the band on his wrist,
In the
and we weren't
hospital.
fully divorced yet, you know? So like, it wasn't like in my head finalized yet, because we hadn't officially been divorced. We
Mhm.
just filed.
Right.
So it was so painful seeing him there giving birth. And I had always wanted a girl, and she had a girl. And so
Oh.
that was like, as a woman, that's just like an extra stab. And don't get me wrong, God knew what he was doing. And like foster Rita's the perfect fit in the puzzle to our family. A girl probably wouldn't have worked out very well. But I mean, at that time, that's what I wanted.
Right.
I wanted a girl, and she got to give him a girl. And I was like, how could this happen? I literally have never in my life ever not thought about living. And at that second, I didn't even want to take a next breath.
Mm.
That's how hurt I was. Like seeing that, I was like devastated. Jeannie had to like go take
Oh.
the kids for me, and she's always been a motherly, like a mom. and so she really stepped in, and I could never thank her enough, like, for being there for me emotionally in that moment. Like, she just stood by me strong,
Oh my
Did
gosh.
you just cry? I have goosebumps.
Yeah, it was awful.
Oh,
It was terrible.
I feel that you were so manipulated that even after those 3 years when you got divorced, it wasn't love, it was manipulation that you
Yeah.
had in your mind still so embedded in your
Mhm.
mind. Like they put a number on you, girl.
Mhm.
I think
Wow.
I
wow,
would say you're
Cruz,
right.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Yeah. I mean, I agree.
I mean, it's brainwashing to
Yeah.
like the fullest extent.
Yeah,
Mhm.
for sure.
It really is. And I still see it every day. Like this one person in their church got a policy, right? Saw the benefits, etc. Y'all, after I mentioned something in a story about how they filed a new case and want me to go to jail for 18 months.
Wow. Why?
The worst thing ever, guys. The worst thing ever.
What?
I didn't take the boys when they were sick, vomiting, and had diarrhea. I had to video that. First of all, why am I having to traumatize my child for your own? This is your child.
Wait. What?
Yeah, wait, I'm
Back
confused.
up.
You didn't take them?
I could not take them to meet him because they're sick.
Oh,
So at our
okay,
halfway
okay.
point,
So how often do you have to
every other weekend.
still?
Every other weekend.
And
In
they're in
Houston?
Houston.
Mm-hmm.
So this
Where's
church is
the
in
meet-
Houston.
Mm-hmm.
Where's the meeting point?
Centerville. At Woody's.
So you have to see him. Does he pick him up?
He does.
So and you drop off?
My parents do it for me because
Yeah.
No,
I
I'm
mean, I
glad.
can imagine.
yeah.
So, and it's so funny because I feel like these men, the same type of guy, like will love to like, doesn't matter if your kid's like dying. Like, I
No.
want my weekend. It's like, well,
Literally.
they would do
It's
better
selfish.
just resting.
Selfish.
It's so selfish.
so crazy.
Selfish. And so you have to have 3 counts to file. So I'll tell you how that happened. But basically, I hadn't ever, let's pin in that because this will tie it all together.
Okay.
So he only gave me $700 a month for 10 years
Wow.
to raise those boys. And then he would complain to me and say, and his parents never did anything. Mind you, they have millions, and this is not an exaggeration, like
I
millions.
was just
believe
gonna
it's a
say they
mega
have
church,
Yeah,
and-
Yeah.
millions.
No.
But it's all under the church's LLC, so
Yeah,
you
so
can't
they-
take anything away
Exactly.
from them.
Oh,
it's-
yeah.
I know the whole. Yep.
Mhm. And they started ever since like we got a divorce or like several years ago where they have somebody come in and like a payout system. I don't know what you even call it, but they do the payroll for them, a payroll system. Like somebody comes in and does it for them. Anyway, $700 a month. So, and last year in February, I said, hey, let's go ahead and look at his stuff. Like, it's been 10 years. This is crazy. First of all, the boys are starting to eat me out of house and home, and they're starting to get involved in sports. Like, this is
Mhm.
just $700 doesn't cover anything except for food, maybe.
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 I
Yeah.
spend
In a
$1,500 a month right now on
That's
food.
nothing.
So really quick, at this point today, how long are you divorced?
To this day, over 10 years, almost 11.
That you guys are divorced? And
Yes.
in this whole time, every other weekend,
Mm-hmm.
you have to do the switch.
Yeah, and think about gas. What about my car? And that, like, the wear and tear, and that $700 is supposed to provide for them?
So, do they want to go?
No, they don't.
Wow.
Mhm.
They don't.
But they're terrified of him. I even have a picture and like notes of him. He has like whipped them so hard and left a bruise. He's
Wow.
that kind of person. They're scared of him. They're terrified of him. Like, they're terrified to stand up to him.
And they're like 10, 13 right now.
11 and 13. He will be 14 in like 2 weeks.
So, you have to take them, and then this one incident, they're sick, they're throwing up, they're
Yeah,
absolutely
so-
stomach virus, whatever, and you say, I can't
No, I'm
bring them.
like, I
They're so
can't.
sick.
Yeah, he's
Okay.
like, it doesn't matter. Sickness doesn't matter. I have text. Sickness doesn't matter. Whether they're sick or not, it's court ordered.
Okay.
Okay.
Wow, like have some compassion for your children.
I
For your own
know.
children.
He
You get
has
kids when we get
no
in the car.
compassion for them whatsoever. He
And this is the
genuinely doesn't care about them. Otherwise,
pastor.
you would do that.
Oh yeah, no kidding.
Yeah. So
Wow.
and then were there 2 other times?
So because I filed for them to them to look at his finances,
Oh,
last February, then in March they started it. So in March he started trying to find things to do last March. So last March we had that big ice storm. We
Yes.
couldn't get out.
Yes.
Is that first weekend?
Yes.
And he said he in the court ordered thing. He said that I have kept them from him because I did not meet at that location.
You couldn't
So
drive?
he had to
It's so
drive
dangerous.
in. No. And after my wreck, are you
Oh
kidding me?
my goodness.
No.
No way.
And you expect me or for me to send my parents?
No.
And your
And your
children.
No, but he doesn't care about the kids. This whole thing has nothing to do with them, clearly.
Wow.
This is
he-
pure hatred.
I know.
And you would think
Wow.
after 11 years,
They would chill the fuck out.
you
Like,
married her. You should be happy. Go have 78 affairs on her.
Yes.
Leave me alone. You're so obsessed. Just get a statue made of me. Wear it around your neck. Maybe a tattoo of my face on your dick. I don't know. I don't know what you need from me, but you clearly need something.
So then what was the third one?
Oh, so the third one was one of the times my mom was designated to take them, and I was working at the shop and I couldn't go, and my mom woke up sick. And so I just said, hey, can we move it to another weekend?
Which seems fair. Most people would say, oh my gosh, your poor mother.
in 11 years, you 3 times.
I mean, the pastor.
But
Yeah.
the thing also is that he's so inconsistent with it. Throughout the years, anytime he needed to move something, I've always just gone with it because it's
On
easier.
his side.
Yeah,
On
because
his
I don't
side.
want to fight it because I know him.
Yeah,
I know how he is.
Do you have them recorded though?
Yeah, there are so many. He tried to take me to court in 2019.
So that's why they want you to go to jail for keeping the kids
So
from him.
technically, on technical terms, since I did not meet there, for every instance, you can get sent 6 months to jail.
What about him though?
Oh, well,
How many times has he done it?
Well,
Like,
I
where
didn't
he-
file against him, so that means that I don't care.
But you
I
still
didn't-
have it.
But you
but
have
you still
proof
have
of
proof
the
of
ice
that,
storm.
right?
Yeah, my attorney said it's a joke. He was
Yeah,
like,
yeah, I
it's a
don't-
total
But the
joke.
fact that you have to hire an attorney.
Yeah.
the fees.
and I had to hire a really good one because this is crazy.
Yeah, of course.
And you're going against these people.
And then he probably has
Exactly.
nothing under his name. It's probably all under the church's name, and he's just getting a paycheck, right?
He has a portion, probably 100,000 under his name, but they probably pay him another 100,000. Barrett, my oldest son, said that he heard him crying essentially to his parents, saying $3,000 a week isn't enough. He needs 4,000.
A week,
Yeah,
Oh,
he gets paid weekly, by the way.
300,000 a week.
3,000.
Oh, 3,000.
Damn.
But that would have been wild.
Wow.
Also, I
Wow.
wouldn't be surprised.
So how does it work though in the court that he only gives you that much money? It must be that they hide his income, right? That they
Yeah,
only show so
so,
much.
They used to do this with us. So they pay for his gas with his gas card. He has a church card, so he can put food, whatever else on there he needs. Also, he gets a housing allowance, which is not taxed. You don't count that as your income. So that's completely separate.
What's
Our
that?
housing allowance 13 years ago was $3,000 a month. What do you think it is now, guys?
Wow.
He
lot.
lives in $1 million house,
So,
I'm sure.
so that
Okay.
150,000 that he's getting is just
That's
Spending
just
money.
for his
That's
boat
just
and
his-
his truck and
For fun.
to have fun.
And
Are
then-
there any elders in this church? Anybody?
They
that-
can't question him. You have they literally cannot question him. They will be banned and marked.
out.
They literally tell them they're going to hell
Oh.
for
they're going to
speaking
hell.
against them.
and they're all brainwashed.
Yeah.
They're brainwashed and they believe it. They are not allowed to think for themselves at all or feel even just feel after the spirit. Say, okay, this doesn't feel right.
And
Let's
then,
just feel does this feel right?
do they have any more children?
No,
Oh, they're
they
just
don't.
the daughter.
Not yet.
Not yet.
Okay.
I
And
really
then,
don't know.
and then going back to her parents,
Yeah, that's actually sad.
where they find out and
They were
then
paid off.
his
Yeah.
parents pay them off.
Yeah, so
Sell
they
your
still,
daughter for a couple of goats and shit.
Yeah.
hey, it's worked through years, the generations before.
That is true. Wow.
I mean, that's what it sounds like.
Good
Like,
point.
They're,
Actually,
they're
very
living.
good
They're
point.
probably living, the life right now.
Do they say anything bad about you to your sons?
Oh yeah.
Oh, I can
They do.
imagine.
Yeah, they do. The boys, the first time that the boys ever, it was like in 2018, October of 2018. I'll never forget because I was like, why are y'all being so mean to me? Like, I
The
just got them
boys.
back. Yes, they're babies. So 2018, that's like what?
Almost
Almost
5 years.
5 years
Yeah.
ago. Okay. So Foster Reed was like 6. Like, why are you going to be mean to me? You're 6 years old.
Mm-hmm.
He was so mad at me. He wouldn't even look at me. He told me he hated me because I'm the one that left his dad, and his dad still loved me because his dad cried to him and said, I still am in love with your mom,
What?
and your mom had spending issues. I'm sorry. I'm the one that took out credit cards so we could just even, you asked me to actually. And so I had to give him one. And I was like willing to do it because I was like,
Under your name.
yeah. And in the divorce, I said, well, can he pay for it because he's the one that did it? And they were like, well, it's your name. I had the best credit. My dad had given me an American Express at 16. Like, I had amazing 800 plus credit, like literally unlimited credit. And it went down to like 500.
Ugh.
It was terrible because he wouldn't pay anything
Just spend it all, and it's under your name, so he didn't
under
care.
my name.
He didn't care about you.
Did not care.
No.
And he would tell, I knew that was the story that he was telling people because there had been some people like within the church organization that had said, well, we heard that it was because you put him in $20,000 debt. I was like, first of all, whatever you heard is not true. Number one, can you really believe him? Number two, I'm the one that helped save for us to buy a home. I'm like, clearly I don't have a spending issue. I do love shopping, but
But I mean, the whole thing is insane.
even at that, even if it was that, like,
So when you were